Wow, never once in 6 years has a guest ever accused me of bringing a vibrator onto the podcast.
Well,
That is the first.
Hey, welcome to Beer Christianity. My name is Jonty.
I'm Laura.
I'm Malky.
and I'm Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey. Feigns excitement.
Yay, there we go. Everyone's having a great
Genuinely
time.
excited. We like having friends.
We are joined on the podcast today by Jeremy Steele, who is the author of How to Not Suck as a Christian. Did I get the title right? I think I did get the title right.
Yes, that is How to Not Suck as a Christian. I know it's a split infinitive, but it's a how-to book. So
It's great. We love it. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be touching... every time I promise what we're going to be touching on, we often just leave out swathes of it and go in tangents. So
perfect. No.
It's going to be fine. But do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and about the book?
Sure. So I am, I'm a pastor. I'm a deep skeptic, which is like a personality trait. Like it's not something specifically targeted towards religion. But what that means is like, I'm never 100% sure if God exists. And that I'm skeptic pastor online. And I am like a fully digital pastor. And I say like, my goal is to help people find religious beliefs and practices or spiritual beliefs and practices that work for them, that like help them become the best version of themselves, find like a purpose greater than themselves, experience transcendence, like whether that's like goosebumps because they sang some worship song or just being able to rise above their circumstances. And I have this community called Not Church that's full of people. Most of them start by saying like, I'm never going to go to church again. They've experienced significant religious trauma, but they're also still really interested in spirituality, and all kinds of like religious identities and non-identities. And it's just like, the reason we call it Not Church is because somebody at one point said, it's like church, like all the things that I miss from church, without somebody like judging me because I've got a tarot deck on my bedside table. And so it's a pretty beautiful place. And then I have a podcast called Unbelief where, I'll interview people like this, and I'll do like long form, often progressive teaching on spiritual texts like the Bible. And that's me. Oh yeah. And I've got this book, How to Not Suck as a Christian. That grew out of my online presence. Somebody suggested that I make some sort of book and about that. And so then I said, I posted a video and said, okay, so if I'm writing this book, How to Not Suck as a Christian, like what should the chapters be? And I got like 300 chapter suggestions. And it was interesting because a lot of them were like snarky, but a whole lot of them really were people who were honestly wanting people who like have this label Christian to not suck in this particular way. And so, I took the best of those 300 ideas and turned it into this book.
That's so fun. That's so cool. I love the stuff you're doing and just, creating that space for people who, are kind of in that post-church, I guess, kind of space. Yeah. I find the concept really interesting because I think so many people are in that kind of area where they have just been maybe harmed by the church or are just kind of done with a lot of what the church does or how it is, not necessarily in like the trauma abusive way, but also just kind of a growth way. Mm-hmm. But then in creating a community that is not church, how do you create it without it being church? Because just because you put the label not church on it doesn't mean it's not a church. How does that actually look in practice?
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair. So it's a spiritual community, right? It's explicitly talking about spirituality. But what we say is, this is a place where we're going to respect each other, and it's not a place that we're going to fight. And the other thing is, it is subscription based, partially because, a lot of people in there have experienced like religious trauma around being manipulated out of their money. And so we don't want to ask for donations, sort of pay for what you get. But if somebody can't afford $3 a month, we just let them in for free. But I think that also is a little barrier. Like, somebody's got to really be interested in being part of a community like that. And we say, like, if you're gonna start telling people they're going to hell, like, we'll boot you and we won't feel bad about it. We've never had to do that. Right. And it's really cool, because like, people come in, they'll do an intro post, and, like, one person, they came in and they were from a very different spiritual tradition. And I knew some people that were kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, and just watching the comments to see how they played out. And like, one of the people sort of on the opposite side of things was like, I've never heard somebody use this term in regards to spirituality, and it really resonated with me. And can you tell me more about that? Which is like the opposite of what I've experienced in most religious settings. So cool. And so I think there's just this like culture that is formed around, when I've explained the community to people, like, explain to them what it is, and, the values of it. And so people don't pay money if they're not going to want to engage in something like that. And it's like, but it is really a community. It's not just like talking about purity culture in the Bible. Like, we post, it's on Discord. We post, there's a channel where we post memes, pictures of our pets, pictures of our tattoos, and like a place where we hold space for each other. Like, when, one of the people was going to the hospital with chest pains in the middle of the night, posted in there, and people, said, I'm praying for you. I'm, sending energy your way. Somebody like, did like a more pagan ritual to, in their, with their healing as an intention in that. And yeah, it's just really beautiful.
That's so lovely. I really love that. And yeah, I think there is real genuineness to be found in those digital spaces. And I think we hear so much, especially from the pandemic, of just so many church spaces being like, I remember the church that I was at in the pandemic being like, oh, well, like, it's not the same because we're not online, because we're online. It's not real. Like, oh, aren't we all so glad to get back in church? And I really disagree with that opinion. I think, especially having worked in a mission agent organization where, persecuted Christians have to use digital methods a lot of the time. Absolutely. To be in church, like, to say that is illegitimate is just so wrong and short-sighted. But then on the other side of it, I think we're living in a space where grassroots community is so important right now, and like just off the back of like the Mamdani election and how like that was a real like community thing. Yeah. Is there an element of community you think you miss by being digital, and is there a way that you kind of balance that out?
Oh yeah, of course. And we actually this weekend are having our first like in-person little gathering, because people do want to be physically with other people. It is definitely a mediated relationship, and so there's disadvantages of that for sure, but there's also advantages to that. There's things that can't happen in a normal setting. So, one of the really great things about digital community is that people can show up anonymously. Right. It's not their next door neighbor. It's not the coach to their kids' soccer team. And so they can show up anonymously and be more vulnerable, like more authentic. And so there's some elements of community that are served really well by a digital space that can't be served by meat space. And so, I think there's a trade-off, and but I think there's positives and negatives about that.
There's something amazing about anonymity in worship. I mean, it's very unusual for progressive or left Christians, but I go to a kind of semi-mega church. And what I like is that I don't know anybody. It's
Right.
kind of like cathedral worship. You don't know anybody. It's
Yep.
really great. I remember I worked in the parachurch, and there was the local church in the town where the office was. And
hmm
just the idea of going to church with people you work with and loathe, I was like, I can't do it, man. It's just awful. Yeah, no. There's something powerful in that. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Mal,
And everything like that is a two-edged sword, right? The anonymity also fuels all the like hateful comments I get on my videos. But yeah, in an intentional community, it can be really helpful. And the other thing is like, some of the people that are part of the Not Church community are live in places where it's like a monoculture when it comes to religious belief. It's a small town. Everybody's connected. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody, at least says that they believe the same thing and goes to the same church. And to process doubts, deconstruction, that kind of stuff, it actually would opt you out of the important community in your actual physical space. And so being able to not have to process that in that person to person space and not having to risk losing all of your social connections allows people to actually talk and process without risking everything.
That's really interesting. I'm part of this should be a drinking game at this point, but I'm part of well, it's really ironic. Wait till what I'm about to say. I'm part of a 12-step recovery group.
You can't make that a drinking
You can't
game.
make drinking games. No. But it's a drink every time Malcolm mentions 12 steps and how it's like church. But it's something we've chatted
I'm not
about.
in 12-step. I can drink every time you
We can
mention
drink every
it.
time, yeah.
Right, for sure.
It's just for
I don't
us.
have a problem. Honest, I can stop anytime.
But yeah, we've chatted about the kind of, I don't know, we've often come to an impasse of like, oh, it can't work because of X, Y, and Z, and the anonymity.
Yeah.
This is the last time me and Jonty were chatting is so key. But that's really interesting to have that digital space where that's possible. Even though so often 12 steps is a physical space, but you come to that place and you're out of context. You're not there with your partner and your kids, and you're not on the T rota and all that stuff. So that's an interesting kind of way around.
And it's interesting to me because the other thing is like, this really is focused on community. Like we don't live stream some, guy with a guitar and then me, talking for 30 minutes or anything like that. The Not Church space is very much just community, just all of the interaction.
So the other question I had was, have you always been this chilled out, relaxed, open-minded geezer in religious spaces that are chilled out and open-minded?
No. So I grew up in the Deep South in America, in the United States, and along like before the internet, because I'm really old. And
Harsh to call him a geezer, man. That's not nice, Malky. That means something different in America.
But so like and like I said, like I'm a deep skeptic, so I've always been that way. But when you have a limited pool of information, right, and you ask questions and you get answers, if those answers aren't reliable data, like you are formed into this person with this set of beliefs that's just not accurate, and so as I as I grew up and began to be exposed to bigger ideas and different sources of authority, little by little, I transitioned from a more typical evangelical belief system to, whoever the hell knows what you would label where I am today. but I began doing like being a professional Christian when I was 19 years old, working with teenagers. And so that was before all of my like letting go of everything. I mean, like I had let go of the idea of like evolution by that point, or creation science by that point. But and so I participated in really awful, typical evangelical practices with the teenage groups that I was leading. And I've talked about that online. I still feel bad about a lot of that stuff. And try to own up to it as much as I can on social media. When I'm, doing a video talking about some, awful practice that exists. And I always, if I was part of it, I'd say like, look, I was part of it too. So yeah, it's been a progression. I mean, it always is, right? Like from week to week, month to month, we're not the same person. We continue in this state of becoming our whole life.
Absolutely. A lot of the people who are listening to this may describe where you are as, deconstructing or deconstructed or post-evangelical or any of that kind of stuff. And when we speak to people in that space, and I think we've gone through that, or a number of us have gone through that as well, there's this moment of the skepticism or the doubt or just realizing this isn't good, or I don't believe this anymore. And you come to this point where you go, wait, I don't know if I'm a Christian anymore. What is a Christian? Not in a gotcha kind of sense of like, what is a woman, or whatever, but but genuinely, like, what do you call yourself a Christian, and what does that mean to you as a term, or a follower of Jesus? What does that mean?
Yeah, I actually really hate the term Christian. I think it's really a meaningless term at this point. Where I exist, I'm a queer person, and most of my friends are in the LGBTQ community. And if you identify as a Christian, people assume all kinds of like super conservative fundamentalist things about you, because I guess that's the like broad definition, sort of common definition of Christianity at this point in the part of the world that I live in. And so I don't identify with that. In fact, like I would really want to say like I'm a completely different religion than those people. But I don't have a good term. Terms are like are really helpful, like to abbreviate, describing who you are and what you believe. And they all are limiting, of course, right? Because it takes, all of the breadth of all of the things that you believe and collapses it down into a single word. What I end up with is I'm a practitioner of Christianity. And so it sort of roots me in a bigger tradition, but it doesn't sound cheesy and evangelical, like follower of like I can't remember the one that you said, but like the Christ follower, any of that stuff. It doesn't make me seem too trendy. But yeah. So the other thing that I really dislike the terminology around deconstruction. I don't think it's descriptive of people's actual experience. And it creates, I think, some problems with expectations that people have. Like the people who will say, like, I'm deconstructing. My experience is most of them grew up in some sort of a tradition or community that where they received inherited beliefs, right? This is what you believe. this is the correct approach to Christianity. If you don't believe it, you aren't a Christian, right? Or at least you're in danger of not being a Christian. And so later, when somebody encounters something, has a life experience, whatever, that makes them question one of those beliefs, I think sort of two things happen. The first thing is that they're faced with, for the first time, the idea that you have to choose your beliefs. And literally everybody does that. They were outsourced, like in this situation, to this inherited set of beliefs that they were given. But what happens in those kind of situations is that the people's development is stunted because when you have inherited beliefs, you do not get the practice and help and guidance on how you choose beliefs, right? And so it's like a muscle that hasn't been formed. And then the first time you encounter it, you have to, like, for the first time, start to figure out what do I believe? How do I choose my beliefs? So you've got a lot of those that you've got to, like, process through. But the reality is, like, that is life, right? Choosing your beliefs, evaluating data, incorporating that, evaluating what you believe, and are your beliefs taking you in the direction you want. Like, that's not something that, like, you complete. That's a lifelong process. And the idea that, like, you have deconstruction that ends and then you have reconstruction and that ends, it actually is still relying on this underlying inherited belief concept that, like, at some point you will assemble the full set of correct beliefs and then you can just move forward, when that's not the way life is.
I think also a lot of people, when they use the term deconstructing, it's like, and I think it's what a lot of people in the more traditional church who don't necessarily have all of the kind of crazy conservative. There's huge swathes of Christianity that don't like evangelicals, you know what I mean, and find it weird, you know. But, like, I think for a lot of those people who do describe themselves as deconstructing, they think of it as a process that doesn't end, like you're describing. It's not It's not something that's going to be. But I'm a convert, so I never thought of this as deconstructing. Like, I converted into a fundamentalist thing, but exactly like you say, like, you're working out the whole time this kind of, like, spiritual epistemology, you know, of, like, what is truth? And for a while you go along with the pastor who says, well, it's sola scriptura, until you realize they don't even fucking mean that. And then
no, not at all.
You know, and also which parts of scriptura, and it's a complicated space. Sorry, Laura.
Yeah, and I find it interesting as well. It's really interesting to hear your take on it, because I think I very much similarly see it as, like, a space for people who have, whether, like, I don't know, like, I think I quite often, like, assign kind of harm or, like, challenge with the church to that phrase, like the idea of, like, as I know Jonty and Malky, and I guess you as well, Jeremy, kind of grew up in very kind of strict kind of those, I don't know, that way, a specific way of doing that was inevitably kind of potentially harmful, potentially not something you would change. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I had the same. I don't think, like, I've deconstructed in the same way in a lot of ways. Partly because I'm not to brag, but I am a bit younger. Sorry, guys. I mean, I'm nearly 30, guys. I can't hold on to it that long. So old. But yeah, like, I haven't been, and I know people still do obviously go through that, no matter what age they are, but I always find it interesting, because I see that there being and will be kind of a generation of people who are kind of growing up now who are being brought up in those spaces that are more open and inclusive and community based and more kind of spiritual, and they need to have, I don't know, that they naturally will want to go through that process that you're kind of describing, Jeremy, of, like, you know, choosing their beliefs, kind of deconstructing in that way. But I think we kind of see it as a way of shedding of the harmful and rebuilding your own choice and space and being allowed that space to find your way. Whereas if you've been always brought up in that space of always being able to allow your way, it'll be interesting. I don't know, it's something we haven't seen yet. I'm really interested to see how that develops, because that will ideally only growing it bigger, that kind of generation of people who are going to go through that. It's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah.
I mean, Malky, you want to talk about your children, don't you? I mean, how are you raising them now that you're...
Well, yeah, that's the... So
enlightened.
It's really interesting hearing you say that, Jeremy. It's given me a bit of hope, because I have a worry that bringing up my kids in a way that's sort of non-fundamentalist.
Right, yeah.
And then I'm like, is there I think it's those like slippery slope and those kind of arguments of like, if you don't give them anything solid to stand on, then I'm worried that they will find the manosphere or find Scientology or something. They'll suddenly be like, I guess because I was partly switched on by that as well. When I was a young person, like a student, like I went to a conservative church, but the only people that I encountered who were kind of intellectuals or academics, in a small sense, were conservatives. So, if you want to take, not even if you want to take Christianity seriously, if you want to take thinking seriously, then you've got to be, with these folks. And then I was kind of drawn in by apologetics of the certainty of it all.
Which is its own disaster.
Yeah. So I listened to you on another podcast recently where you said apologetics is garbage. And I'd like you to expand on that, please.
Bullshit.
Yes. Preach, tell us.
So apologetics is bullshit. That's actually, it's not the title of the chapter, but in the in the book, I've got a chapter that's like, stop defending your faith. I hate apologetics in so many levels, but at the core, the thing that I really despise the most about it is the way that it orients faith as an argument and interaction about faith as like a competition, a zero-sum game that like somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And you have to make sure that you're the person who wins. And the way that you win is complete bullshit, right? Because there's these arguments that you are that you are taught, that they say, if you have this question, like I went through courses about this as a teenager, you have this question, this is the answer, and this proves that wrong. But like I remember, so C.S. Lewis has this book called Mere Christianity that is, everybody loves Mere Christianity. C.S. Lewis, like we're all up in his ass.
Isn't it Beer Christianity? Sorry, I think you got it wrong. I think it's Beer Christianity.
Right. Yeah, Beer Christianity. Right. Yeah. No, right, for sure. But he has this like bullshit argument where he says like that Jesus claimed to be the Messiah, and if he claimed to be the Messiah, and he wasn't, then he might be crazy. He might have a God complex. He might be he called it a lunatic. He might be intentionally misleading people, and then he's a liar. And if he's not a lunatic, if he's not a liar, then he has to be the person he says he is, which is the Lord. And so I remember being taught that and saying that to people, and I remember and like that kind of bullshit response, it doesn't take anyone who is even remotely intelligent to refute it, right? I was in high school at a lunch table and I gave this argument and the person was like, well, I mean, what if the people who wrote the Bible just like put that in there because it helped the case for what they were trying to do?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. Like there's a million other options. Like it's basic. In my experience, an enormous percentage of the apologetic responses are based on a logic fallacy. Like that one's like a false dichotomy or like trichotomy, I guess, because there's three options. But like, and so when when it's a zero-sum argument and somebody's got to lose, when it's based on logic fallacies and all kinds of like stuff that's just complete bullshit, then first off, Christianity comes off like an idiotic religion in those things. It comes off as like something that is really hostile. But the thing that it really short circuits is for the people who are engaged in apologetics and have been brainwashed into that system. It stops them from actual growth, right? Because if instead of entering into the conversation as an argument where somebody's going to win, if you enter into listen to understand, you can grow as a person. You can realize that you were wrong about something, or maybe just get an interesting new take on something that expands your understanding and experience. And so not only does it make Christianity look horrible, not only is it just bullshit arguments, but it's actively hurting the people and stunting the growth of the people who are being brainwashed into thinking that this is the correct way to orient yourself about Christianity to people who are not Christians.
Yeah. And it seems like so much of it over the last like 10, 15 years especially has been orientated mostly towards people who are already Christians. Just don't freak out. Richard Dawkins is wrong. Don't freak out. There are still smart Christians, so it's cool. Like, it's not even like, I think effective apologetics is just sowing doubt, right? That's all you're doing for anything.
Right.
You know,
for
like,
sure.
And they're not even fucking doing that. They're just like, don't worry. You're not dumb. It's okay. You can't have any of these arguments yourself. So you very much are in this framework, but don't worry. You're cool.
It feels like misdirection, like some sort of like magician up on stage being like waving their hand over in this so that you're not paying attention to Richard Dawkins, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go on to more of your book, but first we have to do the important work of still pretending that the conceit of this podcast exists, which is that we are drinking. And so therefore it's pure Christianity.
Fair.
So I want to ask what people are drinking. Jeremy, are you drinking anything?
Currently, I'm drinking Coke Zero. Zero. Not interesting. If I have to select a beer, my favorite beer is Spaten Oktoberfest, but it's so good. But I'm more of a Scotch person.
Oh,
okay,
lovely.
Nice. What's Scotch?
I really like Scotch. I think my go-to is Lagavulin 15, but I really love a Balvenie. Oh gosh. But if I want to like the one that like is really that is really fun to drink for me that I don't drink very often is Talisker Storm.
Ooh, okay.
Sounds fun.
To try it out. Nice.
Yeah, nice. I was going to say I have no gauge of what the time is where you are because your lighting is so fun and purple in the background and it just sounds like it could be 1 a.m., it could be 2 p.m. I have really no idea.
Right now it is 3:42 p.m.
Oh, great. So I was that's somewhere in the middle of my time range. That's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. You got to try a whiskey called Writer's Tears. It's Irish. It's a blend. And it's bloody lovely. It's really cool.
Writer's Tears.
Yeah. I think my wife's work husband got it for me as kind of a joke. And it turns out I like it way more than most single malts. So I'm just like,
oh, wow.
This is great. This is fantastic. Laura, what you drinking?
Well, I am almost at the end of my inches. So I have an inches cider, and I have also I'm going to introduce Jeremy to a British institution, which is a VK.
Oh, what is this?
Which I have. It's just
classic.
like
British wine.
It's strawberry and lime with vodka and fruit juice. It's like what you would drink if you were like 14 in a field and getting drunk. I have this because this was over the summer. There were two the Christianity affiliated parties, one of which was Malky's 40th, at which he had VKs for some reason.
That's
and then one of
hilarious.
which was Jonty's leaving party, where you brought the VKs with you, I think. Well,
Wow,
looking,
yeah.
getting confused look from Malky. And we had to drink up all of Jonty's booze because he went to South Africa. So I just have a bunch of VKs in my fridge.
You could just say that you like it, Laura.
I
That's why you
I
have it.
genuinely don't think I've ever had one.
Yes.
Laura's in love with it.
In America, I think the equivalent is probably Boone's Farm.
Okay.
It's fun.
It's
Okay.
the same sort of trash that you're
Smell
gonna.
of ice? You have smell of ice,
Cheap. It's cheap. I'm talking about when you're 14.
Yeah.
Just grabbing something that's cheap and fruity.
Yeah.
It's that,
Like
yeah.
me.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
Hey.
So yeah, I'll probably crack into that at some point.
Nice.
The VK story. Malky, what
Also,
do you
wait,
think?
Jeremy, before
What do you
we ask Malky what he's drinking, what is Mad Dog 2020? Because I hear it referenced a lot and it sounds amazing just as a name. What is that?
Mad Dog Twin. I have no idea.
This is an American thing. Or maybe it's not.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
you're
not
American.
an
You don't know
American
everything.
thing.
There
I
are
know
many-
everything about name all Americans.
Name all American liquor, right? Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay, well, good. In my head, it's a mixture of hard liquor and caffeine, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
That is
Listeners,
quite
tell
possible.
us.
There is a lot of that in America.
Awesome.
I would love it if we got Jeremy on and just used an hour to grill him about American things.
Sure. Yeah. Let me
American
speak for all
correspondent Jeremy
Americans.
Steele.
We say a tap, you say a faucet. That's funny.
We say sidewalk, we say pavement.
Oh my gosh.
Malcolm, what are you
But
drinking?
listen, in terms of pronunciations, I'm quite as an actual. Thank you. Pronunciations. As an actual Scotch person, I'm quite impressed with. I was waiting to judge you on your
Oh,
pronunciations,
great.
but you did well. You did well.
I did. I got it all right.
Yeah. I was waiting for Isla is a classic.
Isla.
Yeah. So they'll say
No.
it's spelled
Islay.
Islay.
No, Isla.
That was on West Wing as well. Were we
Yes,
talking about
that
West Wing
was.
when we were recording? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was.
Listener, this is
before
going to
we
be
were
great
recording.
for you because you weren't here when we were talking about it. So it's going to be really great crack.
Good stuff. Right, listen, I'm drinking Heineken Zero.
Nice.
So that's it.
Brilliant.
And
Great.
my since we're all recommending whiskies, Highland Park from
Ooh,
Orkney.
I love Highland Park.
Yeah, nice.
So does the guy at the sea shanty.
Highland Park
No,
whiskey
me and
is the
Jonty
sea
go
of
to.
canking of whiskies. Oh, Johnny.
We must have told that story on the podcast.
Every time, I
Every
think.
time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The one that I just can't deal with is Lafroig. Like
Yeah.
Oh, it's all
I
smoky
can't-
and gross.
It
That's
tastes
harsh.
like medicine. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm
garbage.
sorry.
That's
And that
Although-
takes me back. That takes me back to being 14 and trying drinks and going, "Oh, this is delicious! I love drinking beer." It's like,
Fun fact, though, during Prohibition in the United States, that was the only one that was allowed to be sold because it was sold as medicine,
wow.
Wow. Well,
which
Yeah.
checks.
That
It
checks
tastes
out
like medicine.
entirely. It's so bad. If you are a fan of that whiskey, red flag. That's
Yeah,
it. I
red
don't
flag.
trust
No,
you. Yeah.
intense judgment from me immediately.
Absolutely. No, fully
Yeah.
with you.
Right.
I'm
Jonty, I'm
drinking.
about to. Wait, I was going to say I'm about to open my drink. Do you want to get a
do it
good?
for the microphone. Shh.
Oh, that was terrible.
That
Fuck.
was garbage, Laura. That was apologetics level garbage.
So wait, hang on.
What the hell are you?
Drink before.
This is the one. This is. Shh.
This bottle opener is very suspicious looking.
It's a
Is it a
whale.
rabbit? Like, is it it looks like another kind of toy, right? Maybe that's why it's not taking the bottle cap off, right?
Yeah.
You're using it wrong.
If you're opening the bottle, if you tried a bottle opener instead of a sex toy,
vibrating
that'd be,
bottle.
that's right.
Wow. Never once in 6 years has a guest ever accused me of bringing a vibrator onto the podcast.
Well,
That is the best.
it was a low bar, but I cleared it.
No,
I love it.
The
I
crack
love
on,
it.
why not?
It's a beautiful thing. I've been drinking Devil's Peak, which is, I believe, a South African beer. I don't know. I went to what we call a bottle store in South Africa, and you call them
Okay.
off license in the UK, and you call what in America? I don't know.
I'm gonna go maybe liquor store.
Liquor store. There we go.
That feels American enough.
And
This is
then
very strawberry. I just want to point out.
And then this, which is a cider called Savannah. And then this, which is a wine called Unbelievable. And
How much are you drinking?
I'm drinking a lot, man. I don't know.
You just rotating around them all.
The wine, I won at a quiz this week, which I'm very
well
pleased
done.
about.
Oh, hey.
Prize. So very excited. So, yeah.
It's a good prize.
Okay, Jeremy, the book. What can people expect from it aside from shitting on apologetics? Tell them a little bit about what's in it and what you try to cover and what your intention was.
Well, basically, it's trying to help people not suck as Christians. And I come from like a personal expertise in sucking as a Christian. Every single thing that is in the book is something that I myself engaged in at some point in my past. And so the goal is to like help people process like what's going on, what's behind whatever the specific issue is, and sort of chart a path forward. So some when we talk about different beliefs, choosing different beliefs, I talk about cognitive dissonance. The idea that like sometimes there are, like our brains have this ability, drive, sort of just this innate aspect of like creating cohesive narratives out of things, right? And so there's this almost like evolutionary need to have things fit into a nice story. And that really helps when you're being chased by lions. When we're talking about spirituality, that's not always useful because, sometimes what you've got, the words that we use to describe God and spirituality are limited by human experience, right? And language itself. And you're trying to describe something that is, beyond human experience. And so it breaks down. And so you can have different concepts that seem to be correct, but when taken to their logical conclusion, like don't match. And when that happens, when it's not in this cohesive system, our brains experience some discomfort with that and want to push us to reject one, believe one, or find some sort of crazy logical rigmarole to like connect them and make them not disagree. When you just need to say like, I believe this. And when you take them to a logical conclusion, they disagree. One of them might be wrong or one of them might be slightly wrong. I don't know, but they seem to both be right. And learning, like making friends with cognitive dissonance is really a helpful thing because it gives you freedom to believe what matches your experience and what helps you become the best version of yourself. So there's stuff like that, like and this is in some ways it's just liberal drivel, but like one of the chapters is be pro-choice because God is, where I talk about how my evangelical seminary was the thing that caused me to move from being pro-life to being pro-choice, and holding pro-life signs as a child that I was given. Stop asking kids to sign purity pledges. Don't manipulate people into giving you money. Believe science. You need to stop camp altar calls. And so like, that's the book. And, the cover of the book is bright yellow and in big black letters. It says how to not suck as a Christian. So really it's a gift book, right? You take it to your family gathering with your evangelical family and just like sort of leave it on their coffee table. Actually, when we launched the book, we had we had a deal where I'd give you another one for free if you would take it to the church that you felt needed it the most, leave it there and take a picture and tag me. Because I'm petty, like I'm a petty bitch, and that's just, I'm sorry. Maybe one day the Lord will lead me, will deliver me from my pettiness.
I love that you don't want camp altar calls, butch altar calls only. Is that the main thing? That's the
yeah.
Sorry. I totally. You know what? I had a question lined up, but I got totally into my own little joke. So.
Wow.
There's also an audiobook. I've written a bunch of books. This was the first time I did an audiobook, and that was super fun. And a lot of this is like telling my own stories, so it felt like good that it was in my own voice, but that was super fun to do.
Okay, you also have an incredible voice, by the way. Like in the chat, we generally don't talk about the guests when we're chatting to each other. It's usually like you go for a question, but we're all just like, good Lord, he's got an incredible voice. So.
Well, thank you.
Oh my goodness, it's hot in here. Okay,
we'll all just mute ourselves and let Jeremy read his book for the rest of the
podcast. A telephone book, it'll be fine.
Oh my God.
You've also you've done Jeremy is in the next issue of Shibboleth magazine. Issue 5 is coming out very soon. If you're listening to this when it comes out, it'll be out in the next week or two, and you're featured in Shelf Expression. So thank you very much for doing that, Jeremy. You can get to know Jeremy a little bit more via the books that are on his shelf and what he thinks about them. But our next
definitely
issue...
have a book problem. Like I have so many books, and like I don't know if you included this picture in the thing, but like my basement flooded and a bunch of my books got ruined and wet, and like I have this stack of really sad books that I've got to replace.
And then
that's
but the thing is like I've got hundreds and hundreds of digital books that you can't see.
Yeah,
I just have a problem.
Okay. Babe, look at my background. I have a secret third bookshelf around the corner that you can't see. So like it's fine. We're all in the same boat.
Good problem to have. But our next issue of Shibboleth is going to be about witness and evangelism and whether you can do it ethically, the kind of history of colonialism. Is it necessary? Is there a way that it can be done?
Preach.
If you are, what is it that you're selling? Because it's not hell. It's not escaping any of that kind of stuff. You're not pretending all your problems are going to get solved. You're not pretending that you automatically become a better person. What's the sales pitch? Is there a sales pitch? What's your view on evangelism and witness?
Well, I guess the sales pitch question like really bothers me because I think that combining capitalism and religion really fucks religion up. I don't know. I think that spirituality just helps people engage in this deeply human impulse to reach beyond ourselves, right? I think some people would say it's an impulse to tap into our subconscious. But this is something that humans have done forever, and it is fuel for really trying to be a better person, trying to make Earth look more like heaven. And so, I don't sell anything. I offer people a community that'll support them. And I think, so the stream of Christianity that I am trained in comes from like our dead white guy is John Wesley. And he has this thing that he says, where he says like, I know of no holiness but social holiness, and people who are not trained in the Wesleyan tradition will immediately think it's social justice, but it's not. What he's talking about is that the only way that we're transformed as humans, because he has this idea of like going on to perfection, like continually improving. And the only way that you make movement in that is in relationship with other people, right? That's so the only holiness that ever exists is because of relationships. And I find that to be really true. That the things that help me change the most, that have the biggest impact on me in a positive way, are my relationships with other people. Like deep, meaningful relationships cause me to be better. And so yeah, I mean, like, if I feel like if people engage seriously in religion and spirituality, regardless of which religious tradition, it can help them be a better presence in the world, a better person, and find inspiration and fuel to do good work.
Yeah. Yeah, I find
Amen.
myself, preach, brother, preach.
Amen, brother.
But no, but like, because I find myself, if you come from a fundamentalist place, even if you were only there for, a few years, but you're trained in that, or in that evangelical space of, it is a sales pitch. And, and you scrape away the layers of, it's not going to solve all your problems, or it's not necessarily going to make you, perfect or even a good, because, this idea of like only religious people are good people is obviously insane.
Yeah, no,
the only morality comes
some of the worst people are religious people.
Exactly. But then I still find myself saying, but there's something in this that I find beautiful and true and valuable. And it's never the parts that are trying to dominate people. It's never the parts that, like you're talking earlier, trying to win. There's stuff that goes against who I might be naturally when I want to be a fucking asshole and,
for sure,
selfish or controlling or any of that kind of stuff. And but it's so hard to distill. And maybe that's the point, is that it's not about describing it. It's about maybe being it in people's lives around you.
Yeah. And I think, I think that all these different religions, I'm only trained in Christianity, so I can speak from that. There are these, when you look at church history, there are all these blips of all these different religious groups that break off or pop up and don't turn into anything. But there are many streams of religions that have lasted for hundreds, thousands of years, and have developed all of these beautiful practices, all of these beautiful, helpful ways for humans to ground themselves, to be inspired, right? And represent an enormous body of human knowledge that has been amassed and can benefit people who are willing to engage with that. That's, I just turned in a manuscript for a book called Rituals for Heretics, Atheists, and People Who Aren't Sure About God, where I actually take a bunch of rituals from different religious traditions and sort of look at like what human need are they fulfilling, and then abstract out the God, universe, divine portion, and keep that distilled human need so that people can add God into it or not. It can just be the subconscious, right? But the idea is like to make these things that have helped humans for centuries or millennia feel accessible. People will be able to use these tools that have been created and like honed for so long, even when they have all kinds of baggage around God and religion and spirituality. And so there's like 15 proper rituals with like things that you say and do. And then there's 13 different styles of meditation that are in there, because I really do feel like that's the thing, right? Accessing this important body of human knowledge that can help you have a better life and help us all have a better world.
That's very cool. I really want to read your new book. And I wanted to ask, like, what things particularly have impacted you? What kind of beliefs or practices from different perspectives, I guess, particularly that would have surprised the younger self?
Yeah, I lived in Silicon Valley for a little while, in the San Francisco Bay Area, where clearly everybody's going to hell. But I had encountered, probably 10 years before that, a bunch of Christian mystical practices from the Desert Fathers, things like centering prayer and Lectio Divina, and had really found a lot of life in those. And when I was in California, there was a person that I met who was like he wouldn't call himself this. I would call him like a master of Buddhist meditation. Like when I first met him, he had just gotten off of a 3-month silent retreat, right? Like intense. And we met most weeks that I lived there. And he coached me in these Buddhist meditation practices. And if you had told me when I was a teenager, going to a midweek charismatic, speaking in tongues, falling on the floor, prayer meeting at some random woman's house, playing my tambourine and dancing with streamers with everybody. I mean, like, also, how did I not realize that I was queer? But whatever. If you had told that version, it was the gayest gathering I've ever been to. And it was also one of the most homophobic, right? Like, it's funny. So anyway, if you told that person that, like, my adult self would have done this deep dive into Buddhist meditation, I would have told you you were crazy, and I was not going to go to hell.
But yeah, well, as we all know, Buddhism's a dangerous gateway.
Oh no, for sure. No, it's a gateway into New Age, which that was the term when I was growing up that was the real boogeyman.
Same. Yeah.
And Satanism, right?
Yeah,
like, oh man, the satanic panic was for real. My aunt, my cousin got into Dungeons and Dragons, and my fundamentalist aunt took all of his books and burned them.
Yeah. No, I mean, people.
Oh my God.
That was his stepmother. He moved in with his mom immediately.
Yeah.
People thought that Dungeons and Dragons was the most satanic shit, and now the only people I know who do Dungeons and Dragons are Christian nerds.
Literally the only people I've ever played Dungeons and
not
Dragons
wrong.
are Christian. Yeah.
Like nobody else.
It's only Christians. I've only ever played Dungeons and Dragons with Christians. It's hilarious.
Wild. Jeremy,
yeah, I never forget there was like a New Age store that had like rain sticks and nature music, and like you could buy different rocks and crystals that opened in our mall. And like, oh my gosh, the number of pastors who, like, there literally were people who signed up to sit in the chairs closest to that and pray without ceasing all the time that they were open against the enemy.
Wow.
The thing that's wild to me now is, I guess it's like the I'm able to pull those threads and deconstruct that shit. But like at the time, like they show, what's the phrase of the Bible? You'll know them by their fruit. Like what bad fruit? Who is the guy who's meditating and appreciating incense? Like what bad shit is going on in his life?
Like seriously, like they're just sitting there. Right. Like
they're sitting and literally not attaching to anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember going into that store because I was dating a girl who was a heathen and feeling like I was going to hell for it. But she would make out with me, so like of course I'm going to date her. And so she wanted to go into the store, and I went and I started looking at things, and I was getting really interested in it because like it's a taboo thing, like making out with my girlfriend. And so, but I left, and one of the people saw me who knew me and like came up to me later and said like they wanted to pray over me to like take the evil spirits away from me. Yeah, it was crazy.
Jeremy, we have sadly come to the end of our time, but thank you so much for spending this time with us. This has been great. How do people find you on various platforms and find your community as well?
Sure. I'm Skeptic Pastor everywhere. And, I've got a link in my bio to all the things. You can search for Unbelief Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And then if you want to join that Not Church community, it's patreon.com/skepticpastor. One word.
Nice. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time listening to Beer Christianity, you can check out the rest of our stuff at beerchristianity.co.uk, and you can find us also everywhere where you get podcasts. And we're on Instagram, and our handle is Laura.
Beer Christianity.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I think.
When you release it, you need to invite me as a collaborator.
Yes,
you need to tag me. Yeah, for sure.
And find us, email us your thoughts on Mad Dog 2020 and other things at beerchristianity at yahoo.com, because we're old school.
And
like
Lefroig.
And Lefroig, yeah. Do you think Lefroig
sure.
is a red flag? And I mean, maybe apologetics is okay if it's mostly focused on getting people to not fucking drink that stuff. I think that would
Amen.
I think this is our viral moment. This is when we're going to get piled on.
I need another thing for people the number of hateful comments I get every day would blow your mind.
Oh man, that sucks. Sorry. Well,
Sorry to add.
I just assume that they all think the earth is flat and it's easy to dismiss it.
That's great. Enjoy. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, listener, for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.